what do you think people need to know to make sure that they don't get stuck? Is it just as simple as like make sure you got enough cash flow and growth, or
like it really is in essence that simple, but there's a bit more to it. One, I did the first one myself. I already ingrained in me had more research than a lay person would do, because I'm in the industry. I've lived locally for a long time, and builders talk a lot about property. So I had a lot of information about, and some insider knowledge as far as large commercial infrastructure projects that were not necessarily public domain yet that were on the horizon. So I had a lot of the knowledge that most people wouldn't have. So I did make a fairly informed decision. For the next property, we went to a buyer agent, and I didn't have a particularly great experience, as you know, and I don't think I got the best property I could have gotten. It's definitely didn't go backwards or cost me, $100,000 and put me back 10 years, but there were better properties out there, which you definitely wouldn't know, Goose. But, the biggest lesson I'd learned is that not all advice is equal. These other businesses, there are other businesses out there, like the one I dealt with, where they have a lot of experience, they have a lot of exposure in the market, they're doing all the right things, speaking on Sky News, all that sort of stuff, but it was very transactional. I think there were better options to be had, which is what led me to you guys, essentially. So I was looking for a more of a personal touch. And, just a different approach, different philosophy towards buying. I was sort of also at a point where no one could really help me or explain to me too well about why the bank wasn't super keen on why it was difficult, why do I keep having to change lenders. So, having that discussion with you and Nick and Gabby, and to work out that, we needed to add some cash flow to the situation and potentially look at getting rid of one or two properties that weren't yielding as good a cash flow as we needed to be able to project ourselves into that next stage.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, it's really interesting and some really great insights. So I'm interested though, for the average punter who's out there, how do you work out who to take advice from? Because it's a tough one, right?
It's tough. I mean, one thing that I think is important is that you don't take advice from someone who's only their first rodeo. Because they have there's no comparison at all. Whereas I knew a few people that were, it was their first experience with this buyer agent. They were like, oh, they were wonderful. They did this, 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 and this. But now, having dealt with property for a while and dealt with a few different people, that described experience is pretty crap compared to, what I got with you guys, for example. And I'm not, it's not a paid advertisement. There's definitely chalk and cheese, and it did take me a while to recognize that. And there's also that, the time benefit. I could have done a lot of research myself because I know the industry, I know houses, I know real estate, I know quite a few different builders in different states that I could speak to. It still doesn't give you that amount of exposure to the market that, someone does full time.